Dear friends of Salutogenesis, my name is Theodor Petzold. I'm a GP and lecturer at the Medical University of Hanover and Karl Remigius Medical School in Idstein. I have developed the salutogenic communication method. During my lifelong learning, I explored the question, how do mind and body work together? From this followed the question, how can we make chaos developmentally healthy through mindful communication? To answer this question practically as well as theoretically, I have developed the salutogenic communication based on a meta-model of communicative psychophysical self and coherence regulation in salutogenic psychodynamics. I try to give you a brief overview of a broad field in 10 minutes. How can we apply salutogenic communication in different socio-cultural fields? Salutogenic communication is a communication method to guide people toward their own motivation, their meaningful aims, to strengthen their ability to act and to increase their understanding and learning. It is based on a salutogenetically oriented systemic psychology. Today, it is applied in various fields of practice, for example, in doctor-patient communication and psychotherapy, in nursing, and in the care of people with mental disorders, in co-creative teams, in employee dialogues, in local communities for regional development, and, of course, in private interpersonal relationships. From this multitude of different fields of application, it can already be assumed that salutogenic communication is primarily a conscious attitude and less a technique. The focus of salutogenic communication is the stimulation of healthy self and coherence regulation. This self-regulation, like our lives, revolves around motivating attractive goals. It is ultimately about coherence. For all the different attractive goals, we have coined as a generic term attractiva, in reference to the attractors in chaos research. The first phase of coherence regulation is about perceiving one's attractiva and the deviations from these. If a deviation is meaningful, we are motivated to act. After each activity, our organism reflects whether the interaction with the environment has brought us closer to our attractiva. From this reflection, we learn to understand our interactions and how to adapt our behavior to them in the future. As can be felt by looking at the photo of the child and its mother, the smile dialogue shows that they are happy, coherently connected through eye contact. This smile dialogue is an early communicative coherence experience. As psychologists have counted, infants can experience about 15,000 such smile dialogues in their first 4 months. If, instead of this coherence experience, infants experience stress, such as rejection, or are left alone a lot, this increases the risk of suffering from a chronic disease even in adulthood. In pathogenetically oriented medicine, doctors and other therapists ask about chronic ailments, first for the disease diagnosis, second to find its cause, and third to find ways to combat it. This neither leads to an understanding nor a cure of the patient's lack of coherence experience. It rather deepens it. Therefore, in the 96th, the famous psycho-oncologist Lawrence Lejeune changed his approach. He switched from having the 3 pathogenetically oriented questions he had in mind to only 2, now salutogenically oriented questions, before the term salutogenesis was created. First, what is okay, healthy, coherent in the patient? And second, what can he do and what can we do to make him feel better? He reports experiencing remissions of 50% making this switch from the 3 pathogenetic questions to the two salutogenic ones. The Heidelberg-based researcher Ronald Grossart-Matisek achieved similar results doing autonomy training, which has to become a foundation for salutogenic communication. In the meantime, we can explain the positive effects of these communicative approaches, which are salutogenically oriented at their core, on the basis of recent findings in neuroscience. We have three motivational systems: the approach, avoidance, and coherence system. These lead to different modes of behavior and metabolism, as well as even gene activities. The avoidance mode kicks in when we perceive a threat and is linked to the stress system. It is turned on for a longer time, the risk of suffering from chronic diseases is increased. The approach system is turned on when we perceive something as tempting or if a need presents itself. It is linked to the pleasure neurotransmitter dopamine, the so-called internal reward system. It is experienced as positive motivation, but can also lead to addictive behavior. In the superordinate coherence mode, we can do without the dopamine kick. We can be composed even in the fact of a threat, considering carefully before an action occurs. Even if we ask for positive motivational goals, which are to lead people out of the stressful experience, we do not ignore people's fears and suffering. On the contrary, we accompany people to the deepest point of their fear and pain. At this deepest point of their suffering, we ask in the direction of positive attractive goals. What do you need to feel secure, safe, and confident again? This is how we find the turnaround out of the stressful avoidance mode towards their positive attractiva. As Klaus Grabe writes in neuro-psychotherapy in 2004, the motivational coherence system is a superior regulative function of the brain. Coherence regulation takes place mostly unconsciously and pervades all psychological events. Therefore, it seems to be accurate to speak of a supreme or purposive regulatory principle of psychological processes. In the overarching mode of coherence, we strive for coherence and for integration, even of our approach impulses and avoidance impulses. We can take responsibility for our effect impulses, and our consciousness is reflective as an inner observer. This mode is felt as a mode of serenity, a state of peace of mind. We can develop this state of consciousness through mindful exercises and meditation and reflecting. In the coherence mode, we also find the suprapersonal global orientation of confidence, so Antonovsky's definition of SOC. In order to get into the coherence mode again and again, a reflective handling of emotions is also helpful. Emotions arise in the pre-linguistic communication of needs. They reinforce the expression of a child's needs. For example, a child's angry crying shows that it wants to be heard and seen. A weeping shows the caregiver that the infant wants to feel connected. A person becomes angry when another person does not cooperate with him in a way that meets his expectations. In salutogenic communication, when emotions occur, we ask about the motivating need behind them. The person can then verbally communicate this as a need, a wish, request, or something similar. Motivation is not only decisive for individual behavior, but also for our cooperation. Michael Tomasello found that the basis for successful cooperation is shared intentionality. When this is present, we can come together in an intentional resonance space and find coherent solutions dialogically and co-creatively. Therefore, we have developed a goal setting also for medical practice. In this process, the patient names health goals that are currently important and attractive to him. These should be formulated positively. An approach should be feasible and success should be perceptible. In salutogenic communication, we accompany our clients cooperatively in their self-regulation towards coherence. At the beginning, we listen in order to tune in to our counterpart. With one ear, we hear wishes, needs, or spirit behind every complaint. With the other ear, we hear abilities and other resources. In the next step of the consultation, we become more active and ask more specifically, what is meaningful to you, or similar question. We explore their motivation, their desired solution to a problem, their vision of a good life. Then we consider together what the client wants to do and what they can do in order to get closer to their attractiva. What can they do themselves? Does the person have other resources besides its own abilities? If someone has already tried many options without the desired success, a change in perspective may be required. Then we ask him the third crucial question. What do you want to learn from the experience? In the final step of the consultations, we reflect on the solution we have found. Does it lead to convergence on the desired aim, ultimately to more coherence? Is it feasible? Summary on salutogenic communication. Health is created through communicative self-coherence regulation. Coherence is the overriding goal, attractiva, and determines the leading motivation. The coherence regulation can be stimulated by three crucial key questions. With respect to self-perception, what is subjectively meaningful? Second, acting appropriately. Which resources do you process? Third, reflection. What do you want to learn? For interacting in an evolutive, appropriate manner in our multidimensional environment, we have three motivational modes: the approach mode, the avoidance mode, and the coherence mode. Stress is caused by a situation perceived as threatening in the avoidance mode. An experience as a victim requires security and trust, followed by the pursuit of attractive goals and the development of autonomy. In the case of chronic stress, the general rule is find the switch towards coherence and approach goals. An attractive health goal is a more successful communication of one's needs, wishes and concerns, which means mental health. Health emergence in resonance. Yes, thank you for your attention. I want to end this brief outline on salutogenic communication with a takeaway from this conference. Coherence is infectious. Thank you very much.